All right, DJ Demers, thanks for doing the podcast, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me, buddy. Good to be on this side of the interview. The stress is all on you, brother.
Yeah, it is always funny when two people who have the technical know-how of running either podcast or audio or video, it's always more complicated.
It's true. Well, I think it's a stretch to call what I have technical know-how. I'm still flying by the seat of my pants. Every single episode I record, I'm like, something's going to go wrong. I'm going to mess this up.
Yeah. I've had one podcast with Natalie Alcar go wrong where just for whatever reason, QuickTime didn't record the screen cap, which is the way I do it. And I cut to a still of her. And so if you want to check that out, it's on YouTube.
You should have added the mouth in after, your own mouth on her still face.
Oh, what's that comedian who does that? He's huge. Kyle Dunnigan.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I had one where I did a full episode with Deborah DiGiovanni near the beginning of the pandemic when I was trying to learn how to do Zoom and everything. Very emotional conversation. We got into some deep shit. Tears were shed. And then I closed, the podcast ended. And the second I hit close, I even said to my wife, I'm like, wow, that was a beautiful episode. I can't wait to get that out there. Looked at my screen, forgot to hit record. The whole thing vanished into the ether.
Did you try to recreate the crying or no? You just did it again?
We did it again a few months later, and I made a note at the beginning of how great our first conversation was and told her right off the bat, I'm aware we might not get to those depths of human emotion again, but I wanted to get it out there. So we covered some of the same subjects again, but you can't force that. You can't be like, okay, cry now.
Yeah, it would be, it's kind of like you're acting and you get that perfect take where the tears are there and then they didn't load the film. Someone's getting fired.
Exactly.
But you can't fire yourself.
You know what's funny? Being your guest right now is being a host of my own podcast and knowing the difference between a good guest and a bad guest is that I feel I don't want to call it pressure, but I feel the need, the desire to make sure that I give you the best performance. Some people think podcasts are just two people talking, and that's right, they are. But the best ones are when people know to kick it up a notch.
Yeah, there's that same thing of when you're performing, which you got to bring it 10% more than what you feel. 10% more energy, 10% more everything, because it takes that to translate. Same if you're singing.
Oh, you're only doing 10%?
Well, that's what they say.
I've seen you. You're giving 50%, buddy.
Oh, boy.
Getting 150% Latif up there when I'm watching you.
Oh, it's when you're in front of the camera. It's 10% more. You're 10% fatter, and you got to bring it 10% more.
Yeah, to make up for the 10% fat.
Right, the fat is energy.
Yeah.
Right, physics. But we were talking about YouTube, and I have to say, congrats for passing the 100,000 soon.
Not quite yet.
The 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. That's huge. He's in the monetization.
After the preamble where you said 100,000, 1,000 just feels so,
No,
now that
I'm
you
putting it in the
100,000.
universe. I can edit it.
No, honestly, it's a small thing, but it is a big thing because when I set out doing YouTube and putting effort into YouTube in, I think, August, 1,000 was my goal. I was like, just work till you get to that. And I did get to it. So I am celebrating that. It feels good.
It's great. I mean, I haven't gotten there yet. I'm working hard, subscribe. And it just feels good to cross that. I'm sure I'm living vicariously through you, but I'm sure it feels good to get that monetization happening, even if it's $1 or $2, like we've talked about. It doesn't matter. It's you're in the game.
Exactly. And like we talk about this a lot. We're both very passionate about making good content and building an audience. So we talk about this stuff all the time, and I love bouncing ideas off you. But the 1,000 thing is also great because, like I've mentioned to you before, I have a feeling YouTube might even promote you more. The algorithm might even favor you more because you've attained some sort of legitimacy in the eyes of whatever AI machine is pushing this thing along.
Yeah, totally. It's also kind of like when you're verified on Instagram or Twitter, I feel like you go to the top of the search faster. I don't know if that's true, but it feels that way.
I wouldn't know. I've applied for verification on Instagram so many times and so many times been denied.
Yeah.
And people I know who have been verified say their manager or agent did it. So I feel like that's almost a loophole where you have to have somebody else being like, you need to verify this guy. Because I've even had an imposter account using my name, like reaching out to people. I'm like, what more do I need? You know, I have a few TV credits or whatever. Verify me. Come on. I'm not asking you to, just because then you can ask people to like go to your website with the swipe up, not the stupid link in bio thing. And these are all minor things, but when you're
It
trying to build
matters.
some sort of an audience, yeah, it matters.
I feel like when I used to work at this label, I had all these tools because we would do that for our artists. We would get them verified. And I was kind of like an anti social media back then, but I could have gotten myself verified. I could have been on all this stuff. I could have had thousands more followers. I could have been on YouTube earlier. Like, I had all these tools at my disposal that I just let pass by the wayside.
Yes, but I think that personality type of not necessarily caring that much about social media, I'd rather lean that way than if back then your main focus was getting verified and all these things rather than getting funny and all these. I have regrets like that in my past too, but then I'm like, I focused on comedy. So you got to look at the positive side of it.
Yeah, it's like you could have bought Bitcoin, but you became a good comedian.
But honestly, I did not focus on social media at all. My social media has always been pretty terrible, but I always had the cop out in my mind of like, well, when I get on stage, people see I'm the real deal. So who cares about social media? Those people can have it. I'm a comedian. And then when comedy got taken away, I was like, I better figure out this social media thing, man, because it's the only outlet I have.
Yeah, it really became during the pandemic it highlighted the importance of it and how it's just another part of your co-branding, your audience building, and all those things that yeah, you don't need if you're already a household name and like you're, one of the biggest comedians in the world, you can not be on social media, it doesn't matter. But if you're anywhere from the, bottom to the I would say just above the top comedians like that can't sell out theaters just on their name, it's like you need it. It gives you avenues, it gives you opportunities. It's the first thing people look at, for better or worse, when they look you up.
100%. And it's so evident that it's powerful when you just think of it in sheer numbers. You have access to the whole world every time you post. And when you get up on a stage, you only have the people in that room. So why not try to show the whole world how funny you are?
Yeah,
Like it's a no-brainer when you think of it that way.
totally.
It's a different medium from stand-up, but am I funny or not? Prove it.
I've been trying hard to like get my Twitter up, and man, is that the hardest one to move the needle on nowadays.
Deleted it in July and haven't
Really?
looked back. I deleted it and then got it back 30 days later. So the old account expired and then I got it back to keep my name, but I have no followers on there and I never go on it. I just, a big reason was the toxicity of it. I didn't like that Donald Trump had a platform on there, all the stuff. And then they end up getting rid of them. And I was like, maybe I'll go back. But it's been so long that I'm like, I don't miss it. And I agree with what you just said wholeheartedly. I would put out a really funny tweet, some of them that ended up being my best jokes in stand-up. And they did nothing. And I had, 10,000 followers. So I'm like, what the hell is this thing? Like, it's a waste of time.
That's
I didn't like it.
interesting because I started posting some joke ideas, and when they don't get any likes, I'm like, I've abandoned that. And maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just be like, all right, this is just Twitter. Some of them are going to move, some of them aren't.
Yeah, you're at the mercy of the algorithm as opposed to the humans in a room. So no, I wasn't a fan of Twitter. And some people kick ass at it, but
Yeah.
also it's not that dynamic. I love writing, but not in 140 characters. The brevity of an Instagram reel or a TikTok or whatever has value for me in terms of honing my comedic skills. The brevity of a tweet, yeah, there's value in trying to get that down to a concise, no fat, all that type of stuff. But it doesn't have the same satisfying, like, ooh, look at that sentence. I really, got all the fat out of that sentence. Who cares? Like, that's not how I like to read anyway. I like reading.
Yeah, it's kind of like a haiku. You're just
Yeah.
you're trying to complete the assignment, and then you do it, and it's there. But fitting it into condensing a video reel or a video moment has so many more elements. You're dealing with like the audio and the video and the clips and where it cuts, and it's more satisfying, more dynamic. Yeah, that's the word.
Well, even, I've recently started dabbling in the stock market, and like I'm a
Hey,
big dummy with it, but I'm like, if a couple of my friends keep talking about a company, not even like in terms of stock market, but like a few of my friends were excited about the new PS5. I bought Sony stocks. I was like, word on the street is people are talking about Sony. I'm going to
S-
get Sony stock.
yeah, SNE.
Uh, it was what made me passionate, what made me excited, and I've done that. And I think the same way about content. I'll get lost in a YouTube wormhole because I love watching people talk. I love watching great content like videos. I love uh, filmmaking, all these sorts of things. So why wouldn't I put all my effort into that thing that makes me as a consumer excited? I don't get excited by tweets, so why would I try to be good at Twitter? Just on a basic level.
Yeah, you can't force the excitement, and it shows through the content you make. Like when you stop caring and it stops being exciting to you, it stops being exciting to the listener. I mean, we've seen it in movies when you see it when an actor is like just doing it for a paycheck. You see it in comedy when they're just going through the motions. You see it all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was always condescending in my Twitter. Like when I think back to how I used to tweet, even while I was tweeting, the like basic subtext was, man, this sucks. Not life, Twitter. This
Yeah.
medium sucks, and I'm using it to convey a message. Like I never enjoyed it. YouTube, Steve O for some reason is in my algorithm right now, his new podcast on YouTube. And I just went like 3 hours I just spent watching a bunch of Steve O clips. And the idea that somebody might watch a clip of me talking to someone on my podcast, or me and you talking on your podcast right now, and then go down some sort of wormhole wanting to hear more of me or you, that's exciting. That's cool. Like that's an algorithm I can get behind because it makes sense to me and it hooks me.
Yeah, I feel like Twitter started to change when it used to be linear. Like this is the order of the tweets of the people you follow. Then, when you follow too many people, you'd have to basically be on the app at the time they tweet in order to even see it. So they changed it to like an algorithmic, this is what you see. And then now it's like you're just the naturalness of like when the tweets come kind of changed and it just became
Hmm.
less interesting. Although I have to say, with video, it's gotten a lot more interesting. A video and pictures and like the way Elon Musk uses it, he uses it kind of like as his Instagram because he's not on Instagram, and
Mm.
so it can
Then you have
work.
the option there because when people post a tweet on Instagram, it feels like it's defiling what the platform's meant for
Yeah,
to me. But Twitter, if they're making it conducive to both, then yeah, it gives you a bit more flexibility.
it is interesting that the best place to put a tweet is on Instagram.
I don't necessarily like it, but I mean, who cares? Do whatever you got to do. But yeah, when somebody puts only tweets up on Instagram, I'm like, that's not what this app is. But who cares? It doesn't matter.
Totally.
Uh,
What
but
other investing have you been doing other than
oh,
Sony and
buddy,
Tesla?
Tesla was a big one, man. I invested just a few months ago, and that's what gets me the most excited. It's gone up like $280 since I. But like the stock when I got it was $600. I'm not made of money, so I'm talking like I've made $250 per stock on 7 stocks or something.
Yeah.
It's like minuscule in the grand scheme of things, but it's real money. I put like 500 into Bitcoin because my Canadian agent was like, you got to get in, and Bitcoin was at like 30 at that time, and now it's up to like, it went down again, but I think it's at like, but I don't understand Bitcoin. I'd be lying if I said I have a single clue. My buddy's really deep into it and tell me how like people are using Bitcoin to like sell artwork to like attach value to the artwork, which I don't know. The whole thing is like, it makes me feel like I'm a 95-year-old who doesn't understand the way the world works now, but I'm a 35-year-old who doesn't understand the way the world works.
It's one of those things like it is speculation. Like it's either going to go up or go down. Like it's not tied to anything. So as
Yeah,
long as you're comfortable, in my opinion, that it could go to zero, then it's fine. You could also wake
500
up and
bucks.
it's like $1 million a coin. Who knows? It's the most like random thing. But right now there is interesting. It's becoming a Bitcoin podcast. Bitcoin infiltrates everything and takes over. Um, but it's
Yeah.
$1 trillion is the value of all the Bitcoin in the world, and all the gold in the world is worth 7.5 trillion. So you're like, well, is Bitcoin going to be worth more than all the gold in the world?
But here's where the 95-year-old man in me comes out. I can touch gold, Latif. I can touch gold.
Yeah.
Where's my Bitcoin? Where can I touch this Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, there's different perspectives. I mean, I'm more of a value investor. I've been following Warren Buffett my whole life, and it's to a certain extent, I agree with what the way it's basically like you can't put any value in it, so it's gambling, and that's the way I feel. And I did watch an interesting video with this one investor from Silicon Valley who's like, yeah, put 1% of your portfolio in it or something. And if it goes to zero, it's not the end of the world. And if it, goes up 100 times and you just look like a genius. And I'm like, okay, that's a healthy way to look at it if you're going to invest in it at all, which we're obviously not recommending.
It's funny because I think you and I are similar in many ways, but the line that separates us is you are a disciple of Warren Buffett and I am a disciple of Jimmy Buffett.
There you go.
You look to Warren Buffett as your your beacon, and I look to Jimmy Buffett. I'm like, who needs stocks when you have a margarita and a beach in front of you,
Yeah. Well, speaking of margs, like we both kind of gave up drinking.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we spoke last week, you had you were hungover after drinking, but I was thinking about it after, and I was talking to my wife about it. You drank sake, and that could be the sugar too. That's not that turned you off, made you want to stop drinking for a while, but that's not a good alcohol to base that decision off of. Not that I'm trying to dissuade you from stopping drinking.
No, I think but since I've really reduced it in my life, whatever it was, like the one beer or the one glass of wine, I think I had one glass of wine on New Year's, whatever it was, it started to just, when it's not in your system, just affect me more and in a negative way. And I've been on this deep dive, reading these books about longevity and living and health. And it's just, I'm trying to eliminate these things that are not healthy. And it's becoming the most LA cliche type stuff, looking up moisturizers and green juices and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, I've become all those people that you always make fun of. But you're it becomes its own addiction, just the way alcohol is an addiction.
And it's the best addiction in the world, wanting to not die. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. You're talking to a vegan who doesn't drink, you exercise more than me. I fell off the exercise wagon a little bit, but you look fantastic, man.
Oh, thanks,
you're looking
man.
so fit. Yeah. So, but the LA thing is because I even had a buddy, he had a birthday a couple months ago, and his wife sent out a text to all his closest friends being instead of a gift, send a challenge. I want a minute video from you and just challenge Mike to do something. I think it'll be fun. And he's a pretty socially conscious guy, and we're good buddies. So I challenged him to go vegan for a weekend. And his wife played the whole video in front of his parents on his birthday. And my buddy Mike texted me after. He was like, can't wait to try the challenge. When my mom saw the video, she said, oh, he's been in LA too long. And I was like, I don't want to eat animals, and that's an LA thing? The LA cliche. And even before I moved to LA, a few people were like, don't go to LA. I'm sure LA is influencing me, but it doesn't feel like wanting to live longer or wanting to not eat animals is LA.
Yeah, well, our culture is so much our food. So it's tied to and where you live is tied to your food. So it's
True.
the first thing people can kind of identify and be like, oh, you're eating salad, man. You've changed. You're like, all right.
True.
Well, I also lost 30 pounds, but yeah, I have changed.
Yeah. Yeah, you're fat. I'm not.
And that's...
Come on, insult them with me, Latif. Let's call these people fat.
I was talking about when I was fat, which was about a year ago.
No, I wasn't calling you fat. I was calling these random strangers that I don't have to worry about insulting them. But when you go to
you're not on
Wisconsin,
Twitter, so they can't get at you.
Whoever this random person is that took umbrage with me calling you fat, you're beautiful, and I didn't mean it. But when you're right about food being influenced by culture. You go to the middle of America, it would be very difficult to be a vegan. You'd have to really put effort into it. I got 2 vegan restaurants within walking distance of me here.
It's changing
LA,
though.
So that is an LA thing.
It is, but it's also like it's permeating the rest of the world. Like I go to Omaha every year except for last year, and
To visit
there
Warren Buffett?
I go to the annual meeting.
Do you actually?
Yeah, I've been a shareholder for a
Wow.
while, and I go, and it's great. I highly recommend it. And over time, vegan restaurant, and there was a time when I was like pretty vegan. I think I lasted like 6 months, and yeah, I was able to find great vegan restaurants. I wish I knew the names, but there was the ramen place we have here is there. There's some other vegan place. I had like one of the best vegan meals of my life, and also the prices are much better. And
Yeah.
so people are starting to realize like it's good for health. And even Tom Brady's, he's not vegan, but he's like 80% vegan, and you can see he's a 42-year-old throwing touchdowns. So that's something, right?
43.
43.
Yeah, not to correct you, but just to add to the impressiveness of it. This is a 43-year-old man. When I believe he's 43. Either way, 42 or 43. But you're right, because I ate delicious vegan food in Grand Rapids before this whole pandemic thing happened, and I did not expect to find delicious vegan food in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah, it is everywhere. And I'm trying to basically be for myself more plant based, but also if we're going for sushi, not order avocado rolls, like just be flexible and enjoy life too. You gotta eat the tasty food as well.
It's true. Yeah, it's
I
true.
mean, you
I
don't
just
have
am an
to,
all
but
or yeah, exactly. And I'm an all or nothing kind of guy where like
right.
I can't. Also, like I try to. It's this weird thing I'm dealing with where I don't want to be like in people's face about my lifestyle choices or whatever, but I don't want to eat animals anymore. Like, and that's not easy. I used to eat nothing but animals. Like, if I look at my old diet, I'm not like I haven't been like this forever. It's only been a year or a year and a half now at this point, or a little over a year. But I'm on this. I do this weird balancing act of like, do I want to just mention I'm vegan and not talk about it and move on, or is that taken away from? Because in my heart of hearts, I would love to actually tell everybody stop eating animals, and but then I also don't like being that guy. Like it's such a weird line to walk of like believing in something, and then you're like, how much do I tell people that I believe in this? Do I just keep it silently to myself, or am I doing a disservice by not like screaming it from the rooftops?
Right, advocate. I mean, there's a line. They, it's good to think of it in extremes. Like, are you gonna get every single person to stop eating meat? No. Could you influence some people by expressing your feelings about it? Yes. So do what feels comfortable for you without like, being overly preachy about it. Maybe do an ad for PETA. I don't know. Whatever, whatever you
Yeah.
think is a good move for you. And what, like, kind of like what you said, in a way, advocating for animals is content. So do it in a way that is on
Do
brand
it for
and
the
feels.
content,
No,
baby.
but it is. It's like if you did an
Yeah.
ad for PETA and they wanted you to be in their ads, do it. Um, then it would be content. So you're like, okay, well, is this ad saying, hey, some facts about veganism, it's good for you? Is it saying like, I'm gonna throw blood on you if I see you at the butcher? So like make it fit on. And for some people, that is their brand. And so
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Well, the way I think about it is I started being vegan because it was already on my mind. And this performer I worked with on a cruise ship, December 2019, him and his girlfriend, he was a magician and she was his assistant. They were performing on the cruise too. They were hardcore vegan and they advocated for it very strongly. And that's what changed me over. Like their advocacy was my veganism is the direct result of their advocacy. So I was like, that wouldn't have happened if they just kept their mouth shut and just ate their meal and were like, yeah, we're vegan. No, they were like, they gauged my interest and they were like, do you want to hear more?
Yeah.
They didn't say it like that, but
If it's your passion and you want to change people's minds, there's different ways, and some people excel at really being pushing it in your face and making it the number one priority. So different
yeah.
strokes, different folks, I guess.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you is we talk a lot about the monoculture of LA, but also just of stand up and of the world. Like we're all starting to think the same thoughts. We're all experiencing life during Corona the same, so to speak. Like, do you feel like we're coming out of it? Because I feel I started to feel like this week that we are. Like I feel like things are going back. I started reading articles that like April we're gonna have some herd immunity, and I'm starting to feel like there's life. There's a storm in
Yes.
Texas. That's new.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. But yes, I feel hopeful that we are on the other side of it soon, but then I try to rein myself in because the numbers are still, we're not out of the woods yet. But I'm doing a few outdoor shows, real life shows coming up in the next couple of weeks, so that's new. I haven't done that in a while. Those kind of seem like two separate questions. Are we coming out of this soon? Yes. I don't think people are going to deal with another summer of lockdown, whether or not that's a safe thing to do. I don't think we're doing 2 summers in a row, especially in these cold ass places. Like my family's back up in Canada and in Toronto and around there. I have friends in New York. I'm not getting the feeling that they're ready to stay inside all summer. Like we're coming out of this whether it's safe or not is my feeling. And then if the numbers really spike, I guess maybe we'll go back. But that gives me hope, I guess. And the monoculture thing, I don't think we're coming back from that.
You think it's permanent?
Yeah, even after coronavirus, I think even if you and I have our own little monoculture and then people who are into different things than us have their own little monoculture, I think we're entering a world of algorithmic consumption. We're in it already, and I don't think it's going away anywhere. And I think the algorithm of whatever apps you're on, because we're so online now, I think we're all in this, unless you decide to just not participate in the online world, which I think makes more interesting people, to be honest with you. But everyone who's online, we're going to be in this forever, I think.
I like that word, algorithmic consumption.
Well, maybe I'll coin it, or you can coin it.
It's coined. That's the one thing that's actually the pandemic's good is lowered rents in some places. And then I guess in some smaller places, I'm sure rents in Austin are going up. So you can't win. Someone's getting a deal, someone's not. Look at New York. We've talked about it. $2,000 apartments. Like
But then, yeah, this whole exodus out of California thing, we've talked about it. You haven't had a desire to leave, have you?
I mean, I've had a desire to go to New York for a while, which I think I've finally come to terms with that I'm not going to do. Like, I think I kind of fell in love with LA this last week. And I'm like, this is a great place. And, I like it here. And if there's less people here, that's good. So I'm happy.
Yeah. It's been bad with nothing open because, the taxes are high and cost of living is higher. But I don't want to leave and then everything opens again and I'm like looking longingly at, the Comedy Store reopening or all these great independent rooms and I'm in Nashville or Austin. Great cities. I love visiting them, but I didn't dream of when I was coming up as a comedian in Toronto. I dreamt of New York and LA, and neither of these cities are dead. They're still New York and LA, and they will be back. So I'm not ready to cut the cord just yet.
Yeah, in some ways, it's kind of like investing. It's like, are you going to sell LA at the bottom, or are you going to buy LA at the bottom? Like, are you going to, I think if you had to redo it, let's say, you can wind back time. Yeah, leave LA in February of 2020. But just like, you can't buy Bitcoin in 2011. You can't, it's very easy hindsight. And right now, yeah, it could get worse, but it's probably going to get better. I feel like live shows are coming back. We did a couple, and I'm excited. I'm excited for comedy and where it's all going, and even for just the city to get shoots back and like movie production, like all that stuff that you can feel when it's not happening. The same way that like when the writer's strike happened in LA, it was a very similar feeling. Like you just feel like the gears of the city just stop and everyone's like, ugh. And
it's
same
funny,
thing.
You were living here when that happened.
I was here
because I was an outsider and I didn't understand. I was like, why is this such a big deal? I wasn't in the industry other than a new comedian at the time, but you could feel it here. It was that big of a deal.
It was huge. I was in the music business and it affected me. Affected like because I was doing a lot of freelance stuff then, and it totally affected me. And then it was you'd see restaurants go out of business, that
Really?
are around the lots. Like, because I used to live in the West LA area and around Fox, and you'd see restaurants going out of business. And yeah, it was a big deal.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so similar vibe, except this is bigger,
Yeah,
I
this
would
is like
imagine. Yeah.
that times a lot.
People
But
weren't dying during the writer's
oh yeah,
strike.
they weren't. I mean, maybe some more. That's the thing about economic strife is it's like, yeah, sometimes you don't die right away, but it can lead to destructive behavior. Maybe you smoke more, maybe you drink more, and there's a lot of deaths related to that, I'm sure. But in no way was it the same thing. It didn't last as long, but it was. It was also right around. It was like writer's strike, then financial collapse. I feel like every 10 years we get something, like we had,
Yeah.
there was
Some
9/11,
calamity.
and then there was the writer's strike / financial collapse, and now it's COVID. And then in 10 years, there'll be something. We get one every 10 years.
Don't forget the insurrection with COVID. Like, this has been a particularly monumental 10-year calamity here.
What's the insurrection?
Like January 6th, everybody storming the Capitol, the election being,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like that's not a small thing for a country's capital to be raided for the first time in over 200 years, one of the founding democracies of modern civilization.
Right. I think the last time the Capitol was assaulted was the Canadians burned down the White House, right?
Was it because I was wondering, we learned that growing up, but they keep saying the British when I've read American articles, but that's the Canadians, right? The British and the Canadians?
Why did
The
we
War of
feel,
1812?
but you feel that you think it's the Canadians, right?
Well, I've only read the British, but in my brain I had the same thought as you. I'm like, I thought the Canadians did that too.
Maybe we just claimed it because we were bored. I don't know. We should look that up because it's something that's in my brain too. That Canada, that's like the one military victory we've had.
I know. Or even when I watched Argo and they didn't mention that the Canadians were a big part of that, the plot of Argo where they get the guy out of Iran.
Oh yeah.
But it was actually the Canadians who were like at the helm of that, as far as I recall.
Right.
But no mention of the Canadians, just Ben Affleck, Superman or Batman coming in.
Maybe it's just like because we're so small, we like the thing. It's like, look at this shuttle. There's a Canada arm. Like, look, there's Ryan Gosling and Ryan Reynolds. And every time I find out about a new Canadian, like I found out Keanu Reeves is Canadian. I'm like, there's another one. We're just so happy.
You didn't know he was Canadian?
No. I just found that out like last week.
Wow. I actually did kind of forget he was Canadian. That is a big one.
I don't know, it just seems like a good dude. You're like, oh, he's a Canadian.
He does.
That all makes sense now. He's just nice and wants to chill, and it's not on social media. Started a motorcycle company, like all cool stuff.
That is cool stuff. Whenever somebody's not on social media, I remember like 5 or 10 years ago, they said it was a sign that the person might be like a serial killer or something like that if they're not. Now, I don't know if that's still true in academic circles, but from my perspective, I don't feel that at all. When somebody's not on social media, I'm like, good for you. I like you.
Yeah, or I like people that don't use it for like promoting themselves as much, or just use it like a little bit. I don't know. There's
That's
a balance.
all I use it for.
I know, but it's like, I don't know. I think Jerry Seinfeld does it well too. It's like he promotes his book and stuff, but he also you can see it's like him. He's like, here's a picture of my car. Here's a picture of my kids. Like, you're just like, there's a naturalness to it,
Mm-hmm. I don't follow him.
Why not?
He's doing fine. I know he'll be around.
Oh,
He's not following me.
Yeah. I do have that app that it's like so dangerous where it tells you when someone unfollows you.
You have that?
Yeah. Maddie Chimber got me into it. And it's like, it tells you. And then when the person I follow, it's like an instant unfollow. I'm like, boom, gone. It feels so good, but it's so destructive.
Yeah, there was this guy I didn't even know. He followed me a while back. And I don't have the app, but he popped up on my feed for the first time in a while. So I clicked his profile and then saw if he was following me, and he didn't anymore. And I felt that pang of anger. I was like, I don't even know you, bro. I followed you because you followed. Get out. But I knew somebody who had that app, and they messaged me and called me out on it. They're like, bro, you unfollowed me?
But who would do that?
And I was like, exactly. But it worked. I followed him back right away, and I pussied out. I was like, oh, sorry. I think it was a glitch with my Instagram, dude. I would never unfollow you.
Is it someone you knew?
Yeah. Comedian. Wow. And now I have to follow him for the rest of my life.
Fuck. That's bad. You're stuck with them. It's like it's like a marriage. You can't get out.
I know. I wish I had an app that could show me who has that app.
That's the $1 million idea.
It is. Yeah. I feel hopeful. To go back to your question before about if we're like coming out of it, I do feel we're coming. I'm not a epidemiologist, and I'm certainly not a expert in anything that's going on right now, but the vibe in the air, I think there's reason for hope.
Yeah, I'm married to an epidemiologist. It doesn't give you any additional information, so.
Is she? I know she works for LA Health, right?
LA County,
but she's an epidemiologist by trade?
Yeah.
Wow. And it doesn't give you any further insight.
I mean, they're all dealing with the same, trying to figure it out. I mean, I'm sure they understand it more, but like I don't have any additional information from it.
Okay.
Mark Norman asked me that on the pod with him. He's like, "Tell me, give me the inside goods." I'm like, "I got nothing." We're all gonna get through it, and we did. Feels like so long ago. What's one habit that you have that like you feel it benefits you, and then one that like you feel like it would benefit you by taking away?
The one to take away would be social media. Like to use it.
Even still, with all the elimination you've done?
Sorry, use it in a productive way that's conducive to success and take away the mindless meandering.
I like it. It's answering one question with the two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, I would take away the mindless consumption and just use it for be a producer rather than a consumer, or tilt the axis more towards production and away from consumption. That would be the one I'd take away. And the habit that I think is good is I think my patience has my ability to see the bigger picture when I'm feeling frustrated. Like my habit of being able to check in with myself in that regard has served me well in this industry when sometimes it can feel like you're not making the strides that you want. I feel like my Jimmy Buffettness can sometimes help me of just chilling out.
Yeah,
I think it might hurt me too sometimes, in that I don't have the urgency that might have helped me at some points, but overall I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. And meditation, and just like kind of like it's gonna come when it comes, and you just have to put your head down and do the work.
Yeah. And having friends like you to bounce stuff off of. I know this doesn't answer your question, but no, for real. Like whenever we have a talk, we go for a hike or whatever, and I come home, I have new ideas, and I'm inspired to like make a little tweak to my podcast or whatever. Like I feel like it's a very beneficial friendship, beneficial in more than just a transactional way. And I love talking to you about this stuff.
Yeah, I love it too. I feel like we're on the same page with a lot of things, and it's good to have someone who understands all the nuances, and we can talk about the intricacies of building a YouTube channel or building a family or all those things. So I'm very
sorry
grateful.
I unfollowed you on Instagram.
Oh yeah, I know. You were the person I was talking. I was trying to make a subtle hint, but it didn't click. What were some of those, like when you grew your channel last August, you're like, hey, I want to reach that 1,000-person goal. Was it just through creating content? Did you have a strategy? Like, how did you get to that 1,000?
Yeah, weekly, I wanted a set date. I mean, you've probably gone down this wormhole that I've gone down, but just watching a bunch of YouTube creators talk about what breeds success on YouTube, and kind of making a checklist of all the things I wanted to do. So regular content, meaning every Thursday a new episode's coming out. When I didn't like the idea I had, because in the beginning I wasn't even just doing interviews every week. I would just be talking to the camera. Mm-hmm. If I was embarrassed to like just talk or didn't think I had good ideas that week, do it anyway. Just like do it every week. That was the main thing. Just do it and engage, because I've always kind of been like aloof from people who might have liked my comedy. Like I've kind of been like, you can watch the stand-up, but I don't need to necessarily
like comment and reply and stuff.
Yeah. So I've made more of an effort to do that, and I like it. It's nice. It's helped me connect with people who might have already been a fan, and it's been more welcoming for newer fans.
Do you have
I used
the
to be
YouTube
uncomfortable
app?
with the word fan, but it is what it is. If you like my comedy.
Do you have the YouTube app on your phone that for the commenting only that highlights all the comments?
No.
Oh, that's so useful.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's like an app by YouTube that they
Is it
make.
YouTube Studio? I
Yeah.
have that app. It does have comments on that app.
Maybe that's what it is. But in there,
Mm.
there's like basically it tells you all the comments you haven't replied to, and you can go through and just be like boom, 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 reply to them all.
Yeah, I do have that then. It's just not exclusively for comment, but yeah, that is a part of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And honestly, the one thing is one little change every week. So like improvement every week. So if I don't like the way my lighting look, try to improve the light. But like other than that, not there's this quote that we have written up on our wall with a bunch of other quotes, but continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection.
I love that.
Yeah, and another thing I always keep in mind is that I sucked at comedy for a long time before I got good. I didn't make a buck off comedy for the first, I'm going to say 4 years, whatever it was. So I try to remind myself that YouTube is a different medium and I'm still very new to it. So if I'm working by the same timeline, I still have like 3.5 years to get good at this thing. So don't overthink it.
Yeah. From our first podcast episode on this podcast, we talked about another quote, the play to win.
Play to win.
Have you been playing to win since then?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I want to, yes. To answer your question, yes. I don't want to pussyfoot around things or be kind of tepid. Like, I want to be entertaining. I want to be a good interviewer. I want to be funny. So I am a comedian, and I want to be a great fucking comedian. So, yes, I'm playing to win in that regard. And this has nothing to do with YouTube, but while I'm on the subject, I can't wait to get on stages again because I feel like I'm going to be so much better. I feel like I have so much bubbling inside of me, and I think you will be too, and I think many comedians are feeling this right now. But, like, to be able to just, whatever's been percolating for this year, to just be able to, like, get it out there and see what's been on my mind that I haven't even been able to write because I need a stage. I am writing. Well, we talk about this. Sometimes I'm writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the creative juices, playing to win in that regard, just like remembering that I love comedy and this is the thing I want to do and I'm lucky to do it. So do it with everything I got.
Yeah, when we did that park show last week or whatever it was, the guy texted me after. He's like, "Oh, your friend was great. Where's he from?" He's like, "I never heard of him." I'm like, "Dude, he's been on Conan. He's done all this stuff." He's like, "Oh, no wonder he was so good. He like loved you. He thought you were great." And you did have a really good set that night. And
for those 8 people, but didn't that feel so fucking good?
Fuck, did it feel good?
You were great too.
Oh, thanks. It just felt good to do it, and it is like you don't have to feel like these ideas are on the shelf anymore. They're off the shelf. They exist in the real world because. I had a good run of writing every day, but you reach a certain point where you're like, all right, well, now I have this backlog and it's nice to try them all and be like, no, 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 yes, no, 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 no. Lots of no's, but even getting them into the no pile is great.
Yeah, and even just like thinking the joke's done, but getting on stage and realizing there's 2 more levels to it that just come naturally from saying it out loud.
Yeah, Man,
I love stand-up comedy, man. I really feel like, not to be dramatic, but like I feel like one of my best friends has been taken away from me for the last year. Like for the 11 preceding years, it was all I thought about every day, every night. Like it was comedy. And then I've settled into the life without comedy. I've still been happy and all that. But when it's back in my life every night, oh my God. Oh, man.
Yeah. Put the PlayStation away. It'll be time for leaving the house at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m.
Yeah, what a feeling. Even when we met for that park show, Madge and I were eating dinner and it was 7 o'clock and I was looking at the clock like I used to do every night. And it was such a good feeling, that nervous, like, oh, I got to go. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's like my whole life has always been going out at night to work. Even when I was in music, it was in studios. Like if I'm at home at night, it doesn't feel natural to me. It's been too long of doing things at night where it's just like, yeah, even just turning on the Netflix, it just doesn't. I'd rather almost watch a movie during the day. Like,
agreed.
It
the
feels,
nighttime is.
It feels wrong. Yeah.
Anything I'm doing, I'm like, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I like reading during the day. I mean, I think you nailed something earlier where it's like you should try to be a creator and not a consumer, especially if that's your field. But my consumption, I want to consume during the day. I want to read during the day. I want to watch movies during the day, and at like 3 p.m. onwards is like writing and then going out.
The thing about reading, though, is it's not just pure consumption. You're creating. Things are firing while you're reading, for me at least. Not
Yeah.
as much as firing while I'm watching a movie or scrolling Instagram. Movies, yes, to a certain extent. Instagram, not so much.
Yeah.
Or TikTok, even. I've started getting into TikTok a bit, which has given me a lot of YouTube followers, by the way.
Right. Yeah, that was another thing you mentioned, that I've been actually slacking on TikTok and not converting it to YouTube, which I should be doing.
I've been very anti-TikTok, vocally anti-TikTok, because I just felt like I was too old for it and all these things. And but man, you put your YouTube profile in that bio, or your YouTube link in your bio, it gets clicked on.
Do you put the link as here's my page, or do you build the link where it's like you click on the link and it's that link itself is the subscribe?
Ooh, I didn't even think that. It just takes me to the page, but I should take it to the subscribe page.
Yeah. So I started building I've made a bit.ly, do you use bit.ly?
I do, yeah, but not for that particular link.
So I made a bit.ly link that is you click on it, and the second you click on it, it says, are you sure you want to subscribe?
You sneaky devil, I like it.
It's not working, but I mean, like, I'm not at 1,000. It is working, but like, I feel like I feel like even subscribing on YouTube is too many steps. It's like you can get them to the page, and then it's like, that's why people in their videos are always like, subscribe here.
Subscribe.
Yeah, because it's like,
I know. Because, yeah, and it's not on people's mind because they're just consuming like TV or whatever. They're not even thinking about the subscription element. I know I've never subscribed.
It's not a good word because we're used to it being like subscription, like I have to pay. Like, it should just be like my channel. That's like, they just need a like my channel.
Add me to your algorithm.
Yes, that's all it is. Like my channel. Like I feel like
it is bullshit because I use TubeBuddy, which is very helpful to see YouTube metrics and everything. So I compare my page to yours, as I told you.
Yeah.
And when I go to your page, you have what, 250 subscribers or something?
Like 220, yeah.
So I have more subscribers than you, but you have more views.
Yeah, it's so weird.
You have more views consistently, like the line graph, and you're always ahead of me. So I'm like, it's not really fair. Well, it's not really a fairness thing, but yeah, like, so you're going to have to wait. Obviously, not obvious to everybody, but you need 1,000 subscribers to become monetized. So you're going to have to wait for another 800 subscribers. But is that necessarily fair when you are getting this many views per video? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it's done in a way from YouTube's perspective as fairness, because they would make money either way. They're probably just trying to force some sort of legitimacy on it. I don't know. It's all. That's why at the end of the day, and we've talked about this, and Tim Ferriss is a big advocate of this, which is email is still the only social media that you own. Like, if you have an email list, that's yours. It can't be changed. They can't de-algorithm it. They can't de-platform you. So while you're building all these other things, build your email address.
That's nice. See, while you're watching Tim Ferriss, I'm watching Steve-O. While you're watching Mr. Warren Buffett, I'm watching Jimmy Buffett. I need to go down your algorithm a little bit, and I've never listened to Tim Ferriss, but I've actually, not true. You recommended the Seinfeld episode with him, and that was very good.
Yeah, I used to listen to him a lot because he was like one of the first podcasts that really captured my attention. Since then, I listen less and less. I feel like since there's so many podcasts, like even the ones I like, I'm more selective now. I'm like, okay, I'll listen with this person. Oh, I'll listen with that person, which is good and bad. It's saving me time, but I'm also like, when you listen every week, you're like, I wonder who this person is. And I feel like I'm missing out. Or I noticed that you and I, like, we listen to different Rogans. Like, oh, you listen to this one, I listen to that one.
That's another reason I like talking to other people, because they guide the conversation.
Yeah. But it, like, before it was so important to not, like, you'd have to watch a sitcom and it's 20 episodes and they're all different. But now it's like, I feel like everything is different. It's like, you're going to catch one person here, there. You're going to have hyper consumers who listen to every episode and don't care if you repeat yourself. You're going to have one-offs, some people leave because you have repeated yourself. Like, you're fighting a different battle in a way, and it almost doesn't matter. And you highlighted it when you're like, well, my success in my channel started happening when I just did it. And Maddie Chimber said this, which is, I think, a brilliant quote. It's like, let quality follow consistency. It's like, you're going to be consistent, whether you felt like you wanted to do it or not. Like, you did it and it helped.
Yeah, you just have to do it. It's like, I got a buddy who's been just kind of, he's an entertainer too. He's not a stand-up, but he's just been kind of not on social media a lot during the pandemic. And I just we had a conversation, and I told him, there's this thing you love to do, like this one particular subject you're really passionate about. Make a video about that and put it up. Don't even say it's the first episode of anything. Just make the video. And he was nervous because when you don't put stuff up a lot, the first time is nerve-wracking,
Yeah,
right?
it's a lot of pressure. You're like, this is my thing.
Yeah. And then you realize after, you're like, oh, it's forgotten so quickly anyway, in the best possible way. But he put it up, and he had like 25 comments of people being like, oh, this is sick, or like asking a follow-up question, or like, can't wait for the next one. And he right away, he went out and got a better camera, and he's like, he's pumped.
Oh, that's great.
And you can forget that people, that you have fans, if you're in entertainment, that people like are craving your voice and you might not even know, like they like you. And B, you forget that people are ultimately more forgiving than you are of yourself.
Yeah.
Things you hate about what you put out there, people aren't even paying attention to. They're just happy to see you. And then you can improve those things that you hated the second time, the third time. But just do it. To get motivational, just fucking do it, you know? And it's scary. And sometimes I'll say something and like, we'll stop this podcast and a couple things will go through my mind where I'm like, why did I make that QAnon comment or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But it is
already
what it
deleted. Is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun though. It's fun to scare yourself.
Yeah. And it's like, you just put that foot in the water, and then it becomes addictive, and then you start to learn. You learn while you're doing, as opposed to like going to school for 4 years to figure out how to do, you know, the nuances and the skill qualifications you need to just start have been drastically reduced. It's like usually it's pressing a few buttons, other than some weird stuff like frame rates and stuff that sometimes can be out of sync. You can figure that out. But the general like starting is just pressing go. We can all press go.
Mm-hmm. And if you have some valid opinions, or I don't know, what you just said kind of is also the downside of it, is that anybody can just spew their opinions. But that's the meritocracy. If people like it, they'll keep listening to you. And if they don't, then they won't.
Yeah. It's like you'll be upvoted to the top, or you'll never be heard from. So
it's true. Or you're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Well, this has been great, DJ. I really enjoyed talking with you. This was even more fun than I thought it was going to be. Tell us your socials, your YouTube, get everyone to your channel. What's it at?
DJ Demers, DJDEMERS. That's Instagram and TikTok. And I have my weekly podcast on my YouTube channel. It's called Definitely DJ, and it's a good time. Come check it out.
It's a great time. Check them out, and let's hike soon.
Sounds good. Let's hike soon, buddy. Did you say talk or hike?
I said hike.
You did say hike. Damn it. I repeated exactly what you said, and I was like, maybe I can get away with it, and he won't know that I didn't hear him. But the way I intoned hike, you could tell that I didn't hear you said hi. I said, let's hike soon. And you're like, yeah, that's what I just said.
No, I didn't notice, actually. But now
okay.
I
did. Love ending it on an awkward note, brother.
All right,
good
sounds
talking
good.
to you, man.
You too.
See you, homie.